Hey guys, welcome back to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klemczewski with Dr. Kori Propst, and we're gonna roll into our series a little bit deeper. That started with a little description of Kori's bike accident she had a couple months ago, but it really brought up the question because I saw it live. What happens when life really takes a southward turn? And I mean, big time. You know, there's Kori with a broken shoulder and on a hospital gurney and not even knowing if she can type, email responses to her clients. So life turned upside down in an instant. And Kori, it made me think about all of the different areas of our lives where we have to have some sort of flexibility, either built in, or we're going to try and figure it out through that process. Or our life is just going to be in a shamble, probably. I mean, like, what happens if everything changes in a heartbeat?
Yeah, Joe, and I have clients who go through some significant hardship or adversity, and they are literally thrust into that place of, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. There is no sort of reflection on what are my resources. What do I have, or who do I have at my disposal who can support me through this? There isn't the process even of asking those questions. Like, what can I do? It's almost an immediate, very catastrophic response of, I can no longer do all this stuff. And then that's what they spin on and begin ruminating around, which makes sense. They've just been threatened, and their safety has been threatened, and that's a very normal response, right? Kind of fight, flight, or freeze in that moment where, oh my gosh, like chaos has occurred.
And there is, and I want to see if this is a path you want to take directly, but there is a psychological model and theory called psychological flexibility. And just like the buzzword mindset, which a lot of times translates into meditation and health maintenance, health enhancing, habits, you can definitely use tools when you're in that catastrophic time frame.
Yeah.
But how about if you prepare your life in your mind, in your mindset ahead of time, so that maybe you're more resilient to those things. So that whole concept, because until last week, I didn't know this was an actual theory and model, psychological flexibility. Just kind of sounds like common sense, but what does that mean?
Well, psychological and behavioral flexibility. I mean, the manner in which we think and reflect upon and perceive our situation is going to impact the actions that we take and the behaviors we engage in, right? So I like to look at it from, we've got psychological and emotional agility, endurance, resilience, all kind of fitting into the same box. And we can kind of use the analogy of like physical fitness. To be at our best, we need to be flexible, and we need to be agile, and we need to have some level of strength, right, in order to function in the most optimal way. But in a case like this, there needs to be ideally the platform of how am I going to respond emotionally? Because as you know so well, I mean, it's not just psychology, it's biology in terms of what just occurred and how is it affecting my brain. And when we're in that very threatened place, the routine has changed, something that was very unexpected occurred, we're going through some level of probably, like I was, physical pain. That area of the brain, the amygdala, the threat responding center of the brain is incredibly active. And in my situation, I was in this place where, okay, I knew something happened. What was very interesting, and to your point, I believe that the way that I responded happened because I'd undergone and practiced a way of responding that was going to be resourced and skillful. But in that moment, it was, and people commented on this afterwards, people who were involved at the scene, and then as I was healing, they commented on the fact that I can't believe that you've been just so calm about this and patient about this.
Now, they weren't in your head 24 hours a day. So I know feeling the pain physically, emotionally, and the lack of flexibility you now get to enjoy. You're in this. So you had to be human and you had to feel all those things. Was there a moment in time where you could say, okay, this is now my life for a while. How am I going to respond? Where you objectively decided the path you were going to take?
There were tons of moments like that throughout the process. A lot of those moments, though, and again, I attribute this to my practice of mindfulness and regular meditation. It came automatically without me having to say, okay, Kori, how are you going to respond to the situation? But not every time. So yes, there were many moments. I had a moment when I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my mom, and she's got one computer in front of her, and I have this is literally like a day after she got there. So this is 2 days after my accident. And I've got my email, my work email open, and she's got my like health insurance information open. And like, I just started crying because there were so many questions about things that needed to be figured out, about how are we going to pay for it, and what, just it felt completely overwhelming. And so in that moment there was this, okay, stop, pause, breathe. This is part of the process that allows us to have some level of psychological flexibility, to sit back and be very present and just right now in this moment, what do I need? I need air. I need to clear a space.
And that's so important because, you know, for those people who said, gosh, Kori, like, how did you handle that? You were so calm. And my gosh, I wish I was just like Dr. Kori Propst. But they don't see those times when it's real and you have to regroup like over and over and over, as you said. And that's skill, that's using tools, that's having the habit built in, that's just being able to pull all of those resources together and even know they exist.
Yeah. There was another moment where, and this was probably a few weeks into the process, where all of my road rash was like, it was healing. And I was so itchy. I almost couldn't stand it. I was like, I have to move. I was sitting and I was like, unless I move, because I was so uncomfortable. And you can't scratch it. The only thing I could do was move and put like pressure on those areas, because you can't do that. You're just going to re-wound yourself. And it was so weird, because in the moment I'm like, why do I feel so out of control? And so I said that out loud. I feel so completely out of control right now. And I think that's part of managing it in a successful, open, accepting sort of a way, is not to keep it all inside, to recognize that there's people around me and they want to help, but also to admit, like, I feel really helpless right now. I don't know what to do. And then to try to take steps that are going to help me in that moment. But yeah, that was one of those times where I'm like, this is overwhelming. I felt overwhelmed psychologically. I felt overwhelmed physically. And I work on this too with my clients too, Joe, a lot of times where they feel like there's this energy coursing through their bodies and they don't know what to do with it. And that's not necessarily a moment to physically pause and stop. It's like, you've got this energy inside of you. Go walk, go do something to allow it to move. And emotions need to move too, like that. So expression of that, I think, is really important as well as part of this concept of psychological flexibility. There's no one tool that's going to be the best in every single freaking situation. It's like, we need a toolbox to open up and, again, through practice, be able to say, okay, I'm going to use this in this moment. One moment I needed to stop, pause, take a breath. That other moment I needed to move. Yeah, breathe, because that's going to put me in a better position to think logically and more clearly, but I needed to walk.
And I think that's a perfect metaphor to summarize today's topic, which is, we're never going to avoid hardship. Some of it is going to be calamitous, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
I have some stories I'll share throughout this series. But it's you having the toolbox. It's, a repairman doesn't fill up his van with tools thinking, well, nothing bad's ever going to happen.
Exactly.
He's ready to get on the road and fix stuff.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So I think that is the perfect mindset for psychological flexibility in this framework of hardship, is to say, look, man, everybody faces bad stuff, and there are probably a couple billion people on the planet facing way harder stuff than I am right now.
Yes.
So let me understand, I'm going to go through this, and it's going to take some time. I can't avoid it. It's going to take some support, some tools. So Kori, thanks so much for all of that insight. That's why you are the master and the psychologist in our company. And for you guys listening in, this is stuff I think you're going to be able to use for a long, long time, the rest of your lives. So stick around for the next 3 or 4 episodes. We're going to talk about some very specific techniques and some things that you need to do to prepare for those kinds of things and expect those kinds of things in your life. But also, if you're facing something now, hopefully just to really give you what you need to face it moving forward and know that you're going to come out okay. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and Kori, of course, and we will catch you guys all next time.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks, guys.